Hey y'all, this is the Sales Coaching Chalk Talk radio show. My name is Hugh Liddle and I'm the head sales wizard at Red Cap Sales Coaching and Elite Sales Academy, where you can learn to make selling easy, fun, and profitable. As a matter of fact, you can double your sales and income in 90 days or less, and I absolutely guarantee it. Stay tuned and I'll tell you how in just a few minutes. I'm broadcasting today from beautiful Old Town Sebring, the very best part of Central Florida. Now, my wingman, partner, co-host with the most, Jim Hamlin, is not here today. He's out selling something, which is really the only excuse that's acceptable when it comes to missing a Chalk Talk. So we wish him luck. Hope he's able to sell an air conditioning unit to these folks that he's going to see, and everybody will be happy. So this is week 240 of the Chalk Talk radio program. Now in 240 AD, the Roman Empire was attacked by 4 different armies from 4 different countries on 4 different fronts all at the same time. And the Romans were victorious because they didn't have just one legion of soldiers or one general. The emperor was able to deploy his generals and their armies to handle all the battles at one time. Now, in our businesses, we often have a similar situation. How often have you felt like you have information and tasks and interruptions coming at you all at one time? Well, you can handle that situation much in the same way that the Romans did. Because our special guest today is Jim's and my time task management coach, Lisa Mallis. And she's going to share some excellent ways to get the most important things done in your day every day, and especially how to go about delegating work to others. Well, every week we do talk about sales, marketing, business, and success, and we interview a different guest. Now, on our last show, we had sales expert Steve Benson with us, and he talked about how his online app, Badger Maps, can help salespeople organize their calls and maximize their sales. You can listen to Steve's interview and many others at soundcloud.com/SCT-show. And now Sales Chalk Talk is on iTunes and TuneIn, Stitcher, iHeartRadio, Google Play, Player FM, Podcastpedia. Just about every place you can listen to podcasts, we're there. Well, today we do have capacity coach Lisa Mallis with us. And on upcoming shows, we're going to have business coach Mark Terrell, podcast expert Dave Jackson, author Pat Helmers, and marketing coach Barb Sayers. So there you go, folks. Just a great lineup of guests coming up for you here on Chalk Talk. Well, today we are most honored to have capacity coach Lisa Mallis with us. And let me tell you just a little bit about Lisa. Lisa Crilly Mallis is a certified coach, author, and speaker. She works with focused, successful business owners who are overcommitted and still want to achieve more without giving up their nights and their weekends. And she said she works with focused people. She even worked with me and with Jim. So, you know, you could maybe stretch the parameters just a little bit if you want to. Now, Jim and I refer to Lisa as our time task management coach, but she calls herself a capacity coach, and that truly is accurate because most of us have the capacity to do and experience and achieve and earn more than we currently are. And most of the time, it's just about employing the strategies that Lisa teaches. For 15 years, she's been helping clients live a life where every day is productive and rewarding and fun. Well, today, Lisa's going to share some specific strategies that her clients have implemented to grow their capacity, allowing them to accomplish more with less. Lisa is known as an expert at reducing the time it takes to do what you have to do so you can have more time doing what you want to do, and it sure worked for me. As a matter of fact, she helped me reduce my work week from 6 days to 4 and be more productive at the same time. It really does work. Lisa's website is impactivestrategies.com. That's impactivestrategies.com. I think you can tell we're in for another fun, fascinating hour, folks. So sit down, buckle up, and hold on, because here we go. Lisa, welcome back to Chalk Talk.
Thank you so much for the kind intro, Hugh. I am honored to be here with you today.
Well, I did that exactly the way you wrote it, and you'll get an invoice in the mail here in a couple of days. It'll be all right. Well, Lisa, you have become a highly successful businesswoman, coach, author, and speaker. And my guess is that that's not exactly where you started when you were little Lisa bopping around in junior high school. So how in the world did you get so successful? What are some of the milestones?
You're absolutely right. Little Lisa bopping around in high school had no idea that she would end up where she is today. At that time and through most of my early years, I thought I was going to be a teacher. I didn't know what I was going to teach. I was just positive that I would be a teacher. And when I started my professional career, I did start it in education as a high school math teacher. And then I moved into administration to be a athletic director for a Division I high school. And I loved every minute of what I did, and I was great at what I did. And I also worked myself into a health challenge. The bigger my to-do list, the longer I worked. Not getting things done just was not an option in my brain. It was not anything that the school had said or did. It was me. At my core, I want to get up before the sun is up, and I want to go to bed late at night, and I want to work all the way through. That's who I am. And that type of life did not lead to a lot of really good health. And so at that point, a couple years into my education career, I realized I need to make a change. And if I didn't make a change, I would continue to have recurring illnesses and have periods of months where I just was unable to work at all or to barely get out of bed. And so I knew I needed to make a change. I wasn't sure what it would look like. However, I knew something had to change because keep doing the same things over and over again, you keep getting the same results over and over again.
So working with those little candy munchers was hazardous to your health. And so you switched to teaching adults things.
Exactly. So when we talk about what are some of the milestones along the way, what I realized was that a lot of the skill set I had with high school kids transferred easily into the adult world because it was all about finding the pain point and offering a solution and helping draw a bridge from what are you good at and how do we take that and take the bridge over to now how do we take that to something new and make a change there. And so I was fortunate as I was going through this period of time where I was too sick to work, that friends of mine kept asking me to do things for them that followed the same type of pattern. I think I needed hit over the head to realize that my skill set was transferable. So luckily they were the ones hitting me over the head with love and kindness. And so they kept asking, will you help me set this up? Will you help me organize this? I have so much going on. I can't keep track of everything that's happening in my life. I keep missing appointments. One of my when I first started, I had someone who was in sales and she held appointments from her home, and she had someone show up for an appointment while she was still in her pajamas because she forgot to write it down in her calendar. And all of those things kept happening to different people in my life. And I realized, wait a minute, this that is very easy for me is not easy for others. Therefore, it's a marketable skill. And from there, I then went back in and became certified as a coach and learned how to take the thoughts that were in my head and actually transfer them in a way that was easily understandable and easily implementable.
And boy, are Jim and I really happy that you did that. So, Jim and I actually have called you a lot of names over the years. But you call yourself a capacity coach, and Jim was really excited about getting to talk to you on the show. He was really sorry that he can't be here because he thought that you were going to talk about how he could increase his capacity to eat more fried chicken and drink more Jack Daniels. But that's not exactly what a capacity coach is it?
Well, that's not the version I'm using. Though if Jim would like to apply the concepts in that way, by all means, he most certainly can. When you and I first met, Hugh, I was going by time management coach, time task coach, time strategy visionary, and with a very heavy emphasis on time. And as I started working with more and more clients and hearing more challenges, I realized that that time management piece is really only a small part of what's happening. And really what people want to be able to do is increase their capacity. They want to be able to do more with less, to be able to accomplish more in less time with fewer resources. Not just get really strong in time management, but in the bigger picture, be able to work less and achieve more. And that's where I decided to rebrand and call myself now a capacity coach, because that's in effect what the work you and I did and the work that Jim and I did was to be able for you to be able to do more with less.
Absolutely. Cool. So way back at the beginning, how did you actually start your business?
By accident. A lot of it was. I always want to have a better answer here, so I sound exceptionally professional, but it really was by accident. People kept asking me to help them with things, and that were easy for me. And so that's what I did. And once I realized that there was I needed some legitimacy. I came from education. I have multiple degrees, multiple certifications, and I needed to be able to name myself something. And once I realized that coaching was a certified profession and that there were classes and I could get this piece of paper to hang on my wall, that's when it went from helping people trying to figure out what I was doing with the rest of my life to saying, this is what I'm doing with the rest of my life. And it's legitimate. And I now have a business around this.
So you help people now increase their capacity. So how much harder do I have to work to increase my capacity? You know, Jim actually wanted to ask you that question because Jim avoids work as much as possible, as you know Jim. And, trying to get him to do stuff is really, really hard. And that's, he wanted to know, if I'm going to increase my capacity, do I have to work harder to do that, or, can I just do it?
You do not have to work harder, though you do have to be more mindful. So when I talk about capacity now, I'm actually talking about three pieces. The time management part that everyone who's listening knows exactly what I'm talking about with time management. I'm sure everyone on this call has read at least one book. You're very clear on the concepts of time management. But there's also two other pieces to that, and it's focus and energy. So that focus piece, that's where a lot of the mindfulness comes in knowing what are your triggers that throw you off focus. What are the pieces that you need to do so that you're not distracted by the squirrels and the shiny objects and the great ideas. As you and I are talking now, I have taken down the blinds so that I cannot see out my window because there are squirrels, real live squirrels outside my window. And I know that that's one of my points where I will get distracted and I will just watch them go all around the yard. The other piece is energy. What happens when you're tired? And I asked this question recently and the person's like, nothing. I was like, that's the best answer ever. When you're tired, everything takes longer. Mm-hmm. You're easily distracted. You absolutely, the answer nothing is really close to true. So when we talk about increasing your capacity, it isn't that you're doing more. It's actually that you're doing less. You're making sure you're only working on the things that are most important to the success of your business. You're making sure that when you do work, you're working focused versus scattered all over the place. And you're taking care of yourself so that your energy level remains high. That makes everything else easier to do.
Well, that totally makes sense. Now, you have a program that has to do with the number 168. Tell us about that.
It's based on the fact that there's 168 hours in the week. And when you are crystal clear on how you're spending your time and how you want to spend your time, then you can start making adjustments. So clients and I, when we first start our coaching sessions, we start with my 168 form, and they fill that in. Sometimes I have clients who fill in their form of how they would like to spend their week, and their numbers are like in the mid 200s. So no wonder they're feeling like they never get everything done. They're not. They're already 50, 60, 70 hours over what they have available to them. Other clients will fill out the form and they'll come in at like 120 and wonder, why do they feel like they're really busy? And yet they still have 40 hours to allocate or 50 hours to allocate. It gives us awareness, which is the place you want to start to make improvements.
So now, when I first started working with you, I think my number was 782. And
yeah, we did a lot of stuff there.
we were able to pare that down considerably, to say the least. But let's say that my number is over 168, and I've got more. There's more time that's invested in doing things that I need to do than I actually have hours in the week to do. What can I do about that?
I call these the 4 Ds, because you have to get your number down to 168. As of this time, there's yet to a way to build in more than 168 hours in the week. And so you have to get your number down there. And so what I encourage clients and what we do is we work through the 4 Ds. One of the Ds is delete. Taking a look at what's really on your list and does it need to be there. What goals does it align to? And if you can't name a goal, then why is the task on your list? Delegate. And we'll talk more about delegate today. But the one way that you can add more than 168 hours to your list is bring someone in to take control of some of those hours. Defer. Moving something to the next quarter deliberately, not procrastinating, but saying, okay, resources are better further down the line, and let's move that to a place where it's going to be done either easier or better because of a change in resources. And then finally, the fourth one, which we will pretend it starts with a D, but it's really redefine. How can you take the project or task that you currently have on your list and change it in a way that your give on a time level is less. So possibly it is, instead of saying yes to being on a board position, you've then said yes to being on the committee. So fewer time invested, yet you're still getting the advantage of being involved in the organization. So once you go through those 4 Ds, you can start to pull that 160, whatever your number is, down closer to 168.
Yeah, the one that you told me about week after week so many times that it became my mantra is, what should you be doing right now? What should you not be doing right now? Over and over and over again. So delete and delegate were really, I think, the 2 big ones that really made a huge difference for me, and the other 2 are important too. We're going to kind of focus in on delegation today. So when I delegate, what are some of the do's and don'ts about delegation?
One of the things I think is really overlooked when it comes to delegation is the fact that there are 6 levels of delegation. And knowing the levels and what goes in each one is not what's important, but what's important is to realize that there's a spectrum that goes from one end of you've delegated the task and you don't feel the need to check back in with the person, and you assume they're going to do it and they're going to do it to your expectation, all the way to the other end of the spectrum of, here's what I want you to do. Come back after you finish the first step and let me look at it. Come back after you finish the second step and let me look at it. Come back after you finish the third step and let me look at it, all the way until the project's completed. And then everything in between.
Well, since we know that what the result is of assume, what that does, and we don't want to get killed, we eliminate the 2 outside ones, right?
It quite possibly, though I will tell you that there is, my virtual assistant and I have been working together for more than 3 years now. And there are tasks I absolutely can delegate to her at the and where we were just joking with assume, there are things I can give her that she has done over and over again perfectly that I can just pass off and not have to think about it again. On the flip side of that, early on, new person, new task, and you yourself may be a little unclear of what you want the end result to look like, that hand-holding may be the best part. It also could, like you said, you don't want to be killed. So, but when we talk do's and don'ts, my best advice when we're looking at the 6 levels of delegation is to figure out, where are you comfortable delegating at, what level, where on the spectrum, and where are they best able to receive it. Because you always want to be able to delegate to the highest level that you can without error. And figuring out where that person is with that task, like, that's the magic key.
All right. Well, folks, we'll be back with our very special guest, capacity coach Lisa Mallis, and talk some more about how you can maximize your daily activities with less time and effort. And we're going to talk a lot more about delegating, so stay tuned. We want to encourage you to visit Lisa's website at impactivestrategies.com. Now, first of all, you can access Lisa's free special Magic 168 action guide that she talked about a little earlier in the show. Or you can just put your name and email address in the form right there, or you can go to bit.ly/168guide. That's bit.ly, bit.ly/168guide. Now, be sure that you check out the great blogs on subjects like creating a daily action plan, delegating, and how to get more done in less time. There's an incredibly great opportunity that you have available to you right now. The title of the class is Delegating Like a Pro. Now, tuition for the class is only $47, and folks, that is such an incredible bargain. If you just take some of the things that Lisa talks about, even that she's talked about already today, and start applying those things in your life and in your business, you're going to find yourself accomplishing more and making more money. It's going to take you about 2 seconds to get that $47 investment refunded to you, and way, way, way more. In fact, I can tell you from experience that the things that Lisa teaches really can generate tens of thousands of dollars or even more for you in a really short space of time. Just go ahead and make that investment, folks. $47, Delegating Like a Pro, and you can sign up right on the website. Now, you can already tell just from listening to the first part of the show that Lisa is a great speaker. So why not give her a call and ask her to give a keynote at your next company or association event? She'll entertain, inform, and motivate your troops to higher and higher levels of success, making better use of their time and getting more accomplished. And you know what that means. That means more revenues and more profits for your company or association members' companies. Lisa can do that for you, folks. So go to impactivestrategies.com right after the show, or even pause the recording and do it right now, and check out all the great stuff you have available to you from Lisa, and I promise you will be really glad you did. Hey, if you're in a helping profession like alternative health or coaching or another service-oriented business, you have a vital service that can bless so many people, and you want to help as many as you possibly can. If you want to dramatically increase the number of clients or practice members you serve, you can do it by increasing your conversion ratios, sales, and revenues. You can learn the mindsets and skills you need to increase your sales and grow your business in a very short time by working with the sales wizards at Red Cap Sales Coaching and Elite Sales Academy. And you can sell successfully without ever being pushy, aggressive, icky, or scary. You can work with sales wizards who specialize in helping chiropractors, coaches, marketing companies, real estate professionals, and HVAC companies double their sales and their incomes in 90 days or less. You can have a conversation with a sales wizard and talk about your business and your sales. You can ask questions and get some tips, ideas, and strategies that you can take back to your business and implement the same day to help you increase sales. There's no charge for the strategy session and never any obligation or pressure. To arrange a time with your sales wizard, just go to bit.ly, that's bit.ly/wizard-strategy. Find an available time that works for you and schedule it for yourself. Again, that's bit.ly/wizard-strategy. Go there right now and arrange your strategy session, and I promise you'll be really glad you did. Well, we're back with our very special guest, capacity coach Lisa Mallis, and her website is impactivestrategies.com. So, Lisa, before the break, you started talking about delegating. Now, when I hear that word, as you know, I immediately think, well, I know I need to do that, but how am I supposed to do that? Who am I going to delegate to? What am I going to delegate? How do I make sure everything gets done right? How do I know all of that?
Good. Well, let me answer those questions one at a time. So the first thing to think of is, what is it that you want to delegate? And I recommend going back to that 168 list, looking at some of the things that are on your plate, and looking at some of the things that aren't getting done that you wish were getting done. And then use that list and just think about what are some of the items that are not in your zone of genius? What are some of the items that let me rephrase. One of the questions you can ask yourself is this something only I can do? Or like you said, what should I be doing right now? There are things that only you can do. There are things in your business that only you can do. And when you are doing only those things, you are working at your best and highest self. All that other stuff can be delegated out. So that's the first part to answer your question is what can you delegate? Anything outside of your zone of genius. Then the second part is to whom? Who do you delegate to? You want to start to think about, what are the resources available to me? Who are the people in my circle that have delegated something out to someone who is working well? And ask. So people will often ask me, again, I referenced my virtual assistant earlier. People will say, do you have a good source for a VA? And my question's like, well, what do you want your VA to do? And if what they're asking falls into her skill set, I recommend her. If not, I recommend somewhere else.
Yeah, Holly's great.
She's fabulous, but she's not the virtual assistant for everyone because she has a niche of what she does and does well. Mm-hmm. And so you want to start to look at, what can you get off your plate? What are the things that are outside your zone of genius?
Well, I've actually delegated sleeping to Jim Hamlin because he's really good at that. I save 8 hours a night. It's really awesome.
Excellent. See, right there, you're increasing your capacity.
That's right. So what are some of the things that I can delegate?
You can, anything outside your zone of genius. So let's think of some specific examples. Looking right there at your business, mm-hmm. Editing of the podcast, promoting the podcast, newsletters, like that's all that administrative stuff. Mm-hmm. Also, possibly you can delegate marketing. You can delegate tech, call it tech stuff. How many hours do you spend, like the website's not working the way you want it to, or all of a sudden equipment that used to talk to each other no longer does, or like hours you can spend embroiled in that.
Microsoft, Google, and LinkedIn are my sworn enemies.
Yes. And so all that energy you're expending doing things that you don't love, when you could be in your zone of genius and someone else could do those, and they're probably things they do love. What you do is important. What's on your to-do list is as important as what's on your not to-do list, like you had referenced earlier. On my not to-do list is anything that is repetitious, because I am not using my creative brain if I'm doing things that are repetitious. And so those are things typically that I will send to Holly, or that I will try to systematize some way so that I'm not continually doing the same thing over and over again, because someone else can do that.
Well, that's true. And I think the biggest concern, certainly for me, and I think for most business owners about delegating, is, okay, I know how to do this. I've done it so many times and I can do it perfectly if I do it myself. And yeah, there probably are some other people that I should have doing this. It's probably not the highest use of my time. But how am I going to make sure that everything gets done right if I give it to somebody else to do instead of doing it myself?
Good. And so I think there's two pieces to that question. I think one piece is I can do it quickly, but by the time I teach someone how to do that, it's going to take longer to get it done. And then the second piece is, how do I make sure that they're doing it right? So let's take the first part first. You want to, when you think through what you want to delegate, you want to choose the professional to fit the task in a way that allows you to invest the least amount of time up front. So for example, if it's a one-off activity, like redoing your website, choosing someone who's very, very skilled in creating a website will lower your investment of time up front. However, if you're choosing a task that is repetitious, such as sending out a newsletter every week, you may invest more time up front with that, but after the third or fourth newsletter, you've recouped that time back.
Right.
So you want to look at what's the task and then where do I delegate it to? So it's not, you're not taking as much time plus, as we're talking about taking time, the amount of time that you think you're going to take and the amount of time you actually take may not be the same. Often, you may think that it only takes you 5 minutes to do a task and it really takes you 30. And you will think that it's going to take you 3 hours to explain it, and it probably only takes you like 20 minutes. So you want to, really start to get some data there. So that's one piece. But the second part of that question is, how do I make sure they're getting it done? You're in charge. One of my clients, we talk about how when she's delegating, she needs to really define up the front end, what's the project look like? She has to really define the back end. What does finished look like? And then she has to figure out who's driving the middle. She hates the middle. She is an idea person, 50 ideas a day. Easy. She hates the middle. She wants to think of the project. She wants to know what it looks like at the end. And she wants someone else to drive the middle. She is a dream to work with when it comes to delegating, because she wants to get all of the middle off her plate. There is no resistance there. She loves to create. She would prefer not to do the implementation. However, her part where she's challenged is staying on top to make sure the train's still moving through the middle. That when you get to that place, you just create some sort of a check-in system. And you share it with the person you're checking in with, so that you're not, like you had said earlier on that phases of delegation, so that you're not sitting in that place of someone wanting to kill you because you're micromanaging. So if I was delegating to you, Hugh, I would say, okay, here's the project. This is the date that I want it done. Let's check on our calendars. Let's schedule a time to check back in with each other so I can answer any questions as you're working towards it. Now, if we're checking back on a Thursday, I really don't care what you're doing from today until Thursday. However, we have a check-in on Thursday. You're going to do everything you can to make sure that you're someplace on that project when we check in on Thursday.
Sure.
So that's my way of not micromanaging, but also of making sure that I'm not sitting there when the project's due, wondering where is it? and how did you think I meant this when you gave me this? Like, that's your way of staying on top.
All right. So I've been working with Lisa, my capacity coach, for a while, and I'm really clear about what I love to do. I love to play my guitar and sing and write songs and record them. And if I could, I'd spend 6 hours every day doing that. And I also love my business. I don't have as much fun doing it. I have a lot of fun, but I don't have as much fun doing that as I do playing my guitar. And I'd like to really do my business about 2 hours a day. And what I am doing is actually working 8 or 9 hours a day and playing my guitar for a half hour. So what's next?
Build out your resources section bigger. So start to create a list of who are the people that you can start to delegate to. Because the answer to flipping that, to spend more time on the guitar and less time at work, is to get more of your work stuff done by someone else. And so part of the stumbling block, usually let me rephrase. The first stumbling block is, I have to do everything myself. No one is as great as me. No matter what, I'll never have anyone that will ever be able to do what I can do. Once you get past that, then you're open to delegating. And that's a tough one for some people to let go because they've owned and held on to everything so tight for so long. Once you get past that, then the next one is finding the right resources and being able to take the tasks and hook them up. So there's two ways to look at it. One is to actually think of people by name. I have sales copy. Maybe I can delegate that to Hugh. I need a new air conditioner. Maybe I can call Jim and delegate that to him, finding what's best for me. Like, those are specific people matched to task. But the other thing is just start thinking of, in general, what type of people would be helpful. Someone that can run errands and deliver. One of my clients has a printing business, or has an advertising business that requires picking up printing from downtown. And it's like a half hour here and 45 minutes there and an hour here, which all adds up. And so she's like, I really just wish I could find someone who was retired or who needed a second income but full in their days, just to be able to run downtown periodically and pick up printing. And so she didn't have the name of the person yet, but she could at least identify what that type of person would look like. And what do you know, 2 weeks later, she's at a birthday party. And someone was talking about how their father just retired and is driving their mother crazy because he's underfoot all the time. And boom, marriage made in heaven. Not the mother, father, but the business owner and the guy, because now he's running and doing her printing, picking up her printing for her. So it's those pieces. Start identifying resources so that you can start getting more things off your plate.
Well, Lisa, you know that I'm a big kid at heart. So, Lisa, tell me a story. Tell us a story about a client who had a great success with delegation, and tell us one about a client who wasn't so successful.
Okay. Well, I'm going to actually start it on the not so successful part. I'm going to use myself as an example. We were talking earlier about the stages of delegation. And I had shared that typically I can delegate to my VA certain tasks that we've done multiple times and never, ever go back and check them. However, there's always a good, if the task changes partway through, it's important to remember that though it was similar to the original task, it may be a little different. And so you still want to run a quick eye over it and check it. So specifically what had happened was this Delegate class, master class that we've been talking about, was scheduled for back in January. And about 2 weeks before the class, I needed to reschedule it based on a conflict that I had. And when we were getting ready to promote it again in January, I just said to my VA, we're up and running, restart all the emails, get everything going, because it was done. It was ready to go. Everything was great, except for the final confirmation email that comes out after you sign up for the class had the old date on it. And here I am teaching a class on delegation, and I delegated this and never proofed the end result. And so luckily, the first person who signed up emailed me and said, I'm confused. When is this class? And so I was like, oh yeah, great. Way to look like an expert. But the nice thing about that was, one, it was someone who I actually already knew, which makes it all the better. and really it was a secret until I just shared it on your show. But the point is that delegating works, but you have to do your piece of it, whatever that piece may be. And for me, I just needed to proof all the way through to make sure, because it had changed in the end. Now, there are good delegating stories that I have. One of my clients is a realtor. Things that don't get done, because we look at what are the things you're doing that someone else could do, and what are the things that aren't getting done that you'd like to have done. So she's been in real estate 9 months now and has sold, she's had 15 or so transactions. She's learning as she goes. She's excellent at what she does, but a lot of the things that other realtors who've been in the business for a while understand and do by rote, she's still catching up and learning. One of those things is sending out postcards to the neighborhood after you sell a house. This house is sold, because that gets her name out in the neighborhood. During one of our conversations, she's like, I just can't get to that. I can't get to that. I'm like, why would you ever get to it? And she goes through the marketing reason. I'm like, no. I mean, why would you ever get to it? Not in her zone of genius. She hired a high school kid, comes over a couple times a week, sends out her mailings for her. And now, she's had her first inquiry. She had it last week based on that postcard, which may or may not have happened had she not delegated that out.
Well, I just want you to know that when you sent out that piece of advertising about the workshop, fortunately, I had my time machine sitting right here. I was able to jump right in and make it on the call. No
I'm so happy for you. But it goes to that level of delegation. Typically, there are things like that I can easily delegate at that far end, that level 6 end. However, because we changed a piece halfway through, I needed to pull that back to a level 5 and looked it over and didn't.
Well, Lisa, it has been absolutely great fun having you back on Chalk Talk with us. You've been on the show before a couple of times, and you've even co-hosted with me a couple of times. It's always just so much fun to have you. And before we let you go, though, I do have one more question for you, and this is one we ask all of our guests on every show. And you've answered it a couple of times already. It's really interesting, though. We've had people that have been on the show 10 times. We've asked them the question 10 times, and we've gotten brilliant answers every single time. So I know yours is going to be no exception to the rule. And this question is based on one of my favorite books. It's called The One Thing by Jerry Keller. And it's just figure out what the one most important thing is that you have to do, or the most important question that needs to be answered. So I'm going to ask you if you could give our listeners just one piece of advice that you consider to be the most important piece of advice in gaining success in their businesses, in their sales, in their lives, in their capacity. What would that one thing be?
It is funny because now I'm trying to remember what I've said in the past, and I have no idea.
Good luck.
And I'm looking at the book, The One Thing, thinking, I wonder what it is. No, my advice today, which may or may not be the same as previous times, is you can only do so much alone. And so reach out for help. And I know it goes along with the topic of delegation right now, but I think about to the beginning of my business. I wish I would have hired a coach earlier. I wish I would have asked for marketing help sooner. I wish I would have asked for help figuring out. I kept thinking I had to do it myself, and that if I didn't do it myself, I wasn't a real quote unquote business owner. And in reality, I looking at it now, real quote unquote business owners are the ones that know to ask for help and stay in their zone of genius and get assistance and support as soon as they can.
Awesome. Well, folks, here at RedCap, we believe in taking action. So check out Lisa's website at impactivestrategies.com right away. Sign up for her free special Magic 168 action guide. You can fill out the form on the site and get that, or you can go to bit.ly, bit.ly/168guide. Check out Lisa's great blogs on subjects like creating daily action plans, delegating, how to get more done in less time, and get registered for her 90-minute masterclass online. The title of the class is Delegating Like a Pro, and the tuition is only $47, folks. It's an absolute steal. Honestly, it is. And you'll get back so much more than you invest, I promise. In fact, I'll tell you what, I'm so sure that you'll get tremendous value out of it that I'll give you this guarantee. If you sign up for Lisa's webinar and you take that webinar and you don't think you got way more than $47 worth of value out of it, you just call the sales wizard and I'll give you the $47 back, because she's made me so much money I can afford to do that. So contact Lisa and have her give a keynote at your next company or association event. Go to her website right away, folks. Impactivestrategies.com is where it is, and you'll be really, really glad you did. Well, Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show again and taking time out of your busy schedule to come and share all these great things with me and with our audience here. And I hope you'll come back again real soon and do something similar.
My pleasure, and anytime I'm happy to be a guest for you.
Folks, that's about it for today's Sales Chalk Talk. Jim and I will be back next time, unless Jim is out selling something, for another terrific Chalk Talk. And our guest is going to be podcast expert Dave Jackson. You won't want to miss that one. Dave is brilliant. So we hope you'll join us then. Until then, make it fun, make it profitable. So long, Lisa. So long, everybody. And good selling.